call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
And thanks very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, where you make the call on the Bordas and Bordas hotline. It's 412-575-2600. If you'd like to tweet, it's at KD Pomp. And we will talk until 11 o'clock tonight. So beginning with basketball season, it's underway now. Pitt will play Florida State tomorrow at the Peterson Event Center. That should be a good way to start the season. Meanwhile, Duquesne was in action tonight, of course, as they continue to renovate the Palumbo Center. They played at PPG Paints Arena tonight. And early on, they trailed Princeton by 14 points. But they came back by shooting 64% in the second half. Sincere Carey, who right now should be their best player, had 23 points to lead the way. Also, Bailey Steele, who's a graduate transfer, had 19 points. He had played, I believe, at Eastern Michigan. And he's here now. He's a big guy, and he contributed nicely as Duquesne went on a roll and won by 27 points. That is the biggest margin of difference since Keith Dambrot has taken over here for the Dukes. So they win tonight impressively, 94-67, that final score. As I said, Pitt plays tomorrow. We saw the first of two at Madison Square Garden. Always good to see 1, 2, 3, and 4, at least preseason. It doesn't mean all that much. As we saw last year, you should learn a lesson. Teams like Auburn come on strong. There's a lot of parity in college basketball. But the creme de la creme, you know, you had in that first game, Kansas against Duke went right down to the wire. Duke won 68-66. And in the second game, 1 versus 2, Michigan State and Kentucky. And currently that one is early lead for the Kentucky Wildcats of John Calipari. But it's good to get basketball underway. It's a full flight of games coming up here in the next week or two. We'll talk about that as we go along. But also the Penguins, they will be in the island coming up on Thursday night. And they went through a practice today in New Jersey. There was no Chris Letang because Chris Letang got injured last night, a lower body injury. We didn't get much detail on that. He left the game. He did not return. Before he left, though, he made a beautiful stretch pass to Nick Bjugstad. And I tell you, Letang is off to a tremendous start. But the Penguins lost the game. Mike Sullivan said it was one of their better games of the year. Had some goaltending issues early as Matt Murray got yanked in that game. Tristan Jarry came on, but the Bruins got 3 in the third to win it. Tonight, the Bruins were in Montreal, and they lost. The Canadiens beat them 5-4. David Pasternak had his 11th goal of the season. We'll also talk about the Steelers, whose Mike Tomlin press conference today. He revealed that James Conner could play this week. We'll see. He's going to practice. Same true with Ramon Foster. They're going to need everybody they can get because the LA Rams come to town. And with that, I welcome in Gene Collier, outstanding columnist with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And you can reach him here by tweeting also at Gene Collier. So this is, you know, you look at the NFL, it's so evenly matched right now. And that's not necessarily a compliment. There are a lot of bad teams. But they're all mired in that 3-5 to 5-4 range, or 4-5 or 4-4. And all it takes is a couple of wins. And the schedule bodes well for the Steelers moving forward. However, this week is one of those games you can see them losing at home. What do you think about the Rams coming here?
Well, sure. I mean, the Rams are a little bit hard to figure out, but they're a very talented bunch, as Mike Tomlin would say. The Steelers had to get 2 of these 3 consecutive home games, and they have them, thanks mostly to Adam Vinatieri. But yeah, as you said, Bob, parity throughout the league. It's not always a compliment, but it really favors the Steelers in this instance. Only 2 games behind Baltimore, but you can't really afford to lose too many more games, that's for sure.
No, Baltimore looks to be the team in control of the division right now at 6-2. They have a game coming up against Cincinnati, so you'd think they'd win that game. But, you know, the Steelers after that have Cleveland, Cincinnati, Cleveland. So you can see them doing some damage, but I have a feeling it's going to be a tough trip to Cleveland. It always is.
Yeah, especially at night up there. The Steelers don't always play at night, well at night in Cleveland.
At least it won't be -8 degrees like it was.
Yeah, that was the coldest I ever was in my life. If you remember, Bob, we only park about 80 yards from the media gate, but you park right on the lake. And we got out of the car, walked 80 yards to the gate. When I got there, I was crying. I was just literally crying.
Can you imagine playing in that like those guys did?
Well, the Steelers did not want to play.
No.
Ben admitted it later.
Game.
Yeah.
Brutal game, but and it's not an easy place to play on a Thursday night with this team, especially because they could be dangerous, even though they're 2-6. But at the same time, you know, all the talk in Cleveland this preseason, before the season began, was about this team is going to be a playoff contender, maybe a Super Bowl contender. The facts are only one team ever in the history of the NFL has made the playoffs starting 2-6. So right now the odds are certainly not in their favor.
But not just in Cleveland was that talk. That was in Vegas also.
Yes,
They were
sir.
one of the Super Bowl favorites in Las
Exactly.
Vegas.
The hype exceeded what we have seen so far. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the Rams and the problems they pose, and we'll get your calls going. It's 412-575-2600. Thanks for watching us here. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, 7 nights a week on Pittsburgh CW. The Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, celebrating 25 years as Pittsburgh's #1 home exterior expert in roofing, siding, windows, and gutters, where honesty and integrity still matter.